What's going on, college basketball fans? It's Tori, and welcome to 7 upsets that you need to watch out for. Now, I'm going to be listing seeds that are 12 and lower that have, in my opinion, a solid chance at upsetting their higher seeded opponent and have a high chance at potentially busting brackets. Make sure you subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with the tournament. I'll be posting highlights and possibly recapping some of the action. And also, I've dropped a lot of preview videos for this, spent a lot of time on it, so I'd be very happy if you check that all out. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's jump into 7 upset. And I'm going to start this off with Murray State beating 5th seeded Marquette. Ja Morant will be the best player on the floor, and anytime you're a seed like a 12 seed and a 13 seed, but you have the best player on the floor and a guy that shines under the bright lights, you have a very solid chance at beating a team, especially a team like Marquette, who's been struggling down the stretch. They've lost 5 of their past 6 games, and they're not playing their best basketball heading into the tournament. They do rely a little bit too much on three-point shooting, and they do rely a little too much on Marcus Howard, who's a great scorer, but I think Ja Morant can do a very good job guarding him. I think Ja Morant's defense will step it up, and I think they'll be able to shut down Marcus Howard a little bit. You're not going to stop him, probably from even getting 20, but if he has to take a lot of shots to do it and doesn't have an efficient night, then you've done a good job and you have a good chance to win. He does have some solid supporting members around him, and when I watched this team, this looked like one of those 12 seeds that could potentially be ranked higher, but they played in a mid-major, so they ended up getting ranked where they were. This is a team that might have made the tournament as an at-large if they didn't win their conference tournament, and I think this team, even outside of Ja Morant, is more talented than your usual 12 seed. The next 12 seed I have is Liberty, and I'm just going to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about Liberty. I watched them play a little bit against Lipscomb, which was a very good team that they ended up beating just to get into the tournament, and I really like their draw. I'm not a big fan of Mississippi State. They've been struggling down the stretch. I thought they should have been a 6, maybe even a 7 seed. I don't think they're 5 seed quality, and Liberty beating a good team to get into the tournament, and then they looked pretty impressive during that game. I think they have a decent chance to win in the first round, and then even in the second round, Virginia Tech, they'll have Justin Robinson back, but who knows if he'll be 100%. Curry Blackshear will be a very tough matchup, and it remains to be seen if Liberty has the guys that can be able to handle him. But even in that second round, I think Liberty has a very solid chance at beating Virginia Tech. They're not everyone's favorite 12 seed, but I think they might be the 12 seed with the best chance at making the Sweet 16, and their first round matchup against Mississippi State is definitely a matchup to watch out for. Third upset, we got another 12 seed. The 12 seeds are very impressive to me this year, and they're not facing as good of 5 seeds as they have in years past. And this third 12 seed, you probably could have guessed it. I have Oregon beating Wisconsin, and Oregon's playing great basketball. Peyton Pritchard is really playing well. Small flex, I've played against him before. We actually did a pretty good job defending him. A better job than a good defense in Washington did in the conference tournament, as Peyton Pritchard dropped 20 on them. They have Louis King, who's playing great basketball. I think it's Louis King. It's not Lewis, is it? I heard Bill Walton calling him Louis, but who knows with Bill Walton and all the crazy stuff that he says. I'm just going to call him Louis King. He's a guy that I saw a lot of tape on before he got to Oregon, but I just never heard his name pronounced. But he's playing really good basketball. He was injured at the start of the year, and then he had some time that he needed to take to acclimate to the college basketball setting, and he's finally playing well. Paul White is really shooting the ball well right now, and that's a very good team. Defensively, Kenny Wooten might be better than Jordan Bell was when Oregon made the Final Four a couple years ago. Kenny Wooten is possibly the best shot blocker in the country. He gets off the floor so quick. The only guys that could rival him is probably Brandon Clark, and that's about it. Wisconsin, I'm not too impressed with, and I'm just not that impressed with the Big Ten. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm biased against them, but I always seem to pick against them outside of Michigan and Michigan State, and it always does me well. Wisconsin, they have Ethan Hatt, but outside of that, I don't really like their talent level, so I think Oregon has a very good chance. In that same area of the bracket, 13th seeded UC Irvine has a very good chance to beat Kansas State. Kansas State might be without Dean Wade. They might have him back, but even if he's back, he's probably not going to be 100%. And that dude is such a huge key to their team that I think that they're really going to struggle in the first round because he'll either be hobbled or he won't play at all. Now, I know they made a decent run last year without him, but I don't think they can do it again. And when they're going up against a team like UC Irvine who can really score the ball, I think Kansas State is in for some trouble. Kansas State has a very good defense, but UC Irvine has so many shot makers and such a versatile offense that I think that they can still score the ball on Kansas State. And if Kansas State, without its leading scorer, can't score the ball back, they're going to lose that game. I really like UC Irvine. They were really impressive in their conference tournament, and I think they have a very good chance at upsetting Kansas State. Now, for my 114 seed that I really like in this year's tournament, I have 14th seeded Yale beating 3 seed LSU. And I talked a little bit about LSU being a possible team to upset you if you pick them in your bracket. They were definitely a high seed to be cautious about. That was the name of that video. And I talked a lot about how they'll be missing their coach, how they're kind of struggling a little bit without him due to that drama. They have a lot of distractions going into the tournament, and a team like that will either turn it into fuel and play with a chip on their shoulder, or they'll fold under pressure. And with a team that has really no NCAA tournament experience, I think LSU will fold under pressure, and I think they'll fold under pressure to a very good Yale team that is one of the best 14 seeds I've ever seen. They should have been a 13 seed, and as I said, the 12 seeds are really good this year, so in other years, I think they're as talented as a 12 seed. They have Mie Oni, who is a guy that could potentially get drafted. He's a great story. They definitely got some talent, and Ivy League teams always seem to play a smarter brand of basketball in the NCAA tournament than their opponent. They always seem to do really well, and we've seen a 14-3 upset a few years ago with Harvard as the 14th seed. I can't remember who they beat, but the Ivy League always does well in the NCAA tournament, and this matchup I think is great for Yale, and I think they have a very good chance at upsetting LSU. Now, I have two 15 seeds, and I don't think either of these are going to happen, but I'm just going to put this out there, and hopefully in case it happens, I can say, hey, look, I told you guys that was possible. The first team I have is Montana, a 15 seed, beating 2-seeded Michigan, and I said you should be a little cautious about Michigan in my previous video, as I said that they're a defensive first team, that if their opponent can still hit shots on them, it gives them a fighting chance. And I think Montana with Jamar Eckel and Ahmad Rory have a very good chance at providing that firepower needed to knock off a Michigan team. Michigan's leading scorer is a freshman, and they rely on him heavily. Ignas Brazdeikis is a guy who will be a future NBA player, but maybe the lights are too bright for him, or maybe his shot just does not fall. He's a pretty good shooter, but if he has an off night, then Michigan's going to struggle, because other than that, their only top level scorer in my opinion is Jordan Poole, but he's also a little too inconsistent for my liking. I think both those guys, if they have an off night, combined with Charles Matthews, who's a little banged up, I think Montana has a decent chance for a 2 seed to lose in the first round. The other 15 seed I have is Colgate, and I don't know what this is. This is just a gut feeling. I almost have this futuristic vision where I see Colgate just randomly beating Tennessee. Tennessee's kind of struggled. They lost by 20 in their SEC championship game against Auburn, who's playing great lately, but Tennessee just isn't that impressive. Grant Williams, for as good as he is, there will be halves where he just doesn't take shots, and I don't know why. He has a lot of talent around him. Schofield, Ken Bone. He has a lot of guys around him that will pick up the slack and that will take a lot of shots, and he'll kind of disappear, but I just think Tennessee, for whatever reason, is a team that I could see getting upset early if Grant Williams kind of disappears and Ken Bone isn't able to hit shots, and Admiral Schofield, who shoots a ton of mid-range jumpers. If those shots aren't falling, they're the most inefficient shot in basketball, then who knows? This Colgate team might be able to beat them. And I don't know a single player on Colgate. As I said, this is a gut feeling, but let's see how accurate my gut is. Let's see if it's able to predict Colgate as having a chance to upset Tennessee. So that's 7 upsets that you need to look out for in this March Madness tournament. Let me know if I missed any potential upsets by a 12 seed or lower in the first round that you think might happen. And with all that, I'm out of here. This has been Tori with College Basketball Fan. I'll see you later. Peace out.